all kinds of notes for tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April meeting of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 5D in Washington, D.C. We are going to get started momentarily, but give us just a moment to add some additional commissioners and panelists to the webinar. All right, I do believe that we have all of our commissioners. If you are a panelist or one of our ASL interpreters and you need to be added as a panelist or given some additional access, please raise your hand. And Bosco, if you could make sure that our ASL interpreters are all promoted to panelists, I'd appreciate it. And we'll
yeah,
get
I'll make sure.
started.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll get started as soon as we have ASL. Okay, thank you, everyone. I do see that we have our interpreter up on the screen, so we're ready to get started. I move to call tonight's April 13th meeting of ANC 5D to order. The first item of business on our agenda is to adopt the agenda. I do see that we have several requested additions. So I'll briefly name them. And if anyone has an objection to any of the items, any of the commissioners, please let me know. So the first requested item for our consent calendar is an after hours permit for 440 Penn Street. And then I see in our voting items section that we have the request to add BZA case number 20275. Are there any additional requested additions? Anything that wasn't on the calendar 7 days ago that's now there? Commissioner Hoffman, if you are speaking, yeah. I can't hear you.
I believe my resolution for the speed bumps in Trinidad is a request currently.
Okay. All right, and we'll just list it that way on the agendas for clarity. Yeah. Okay, so any objection to the requested items? Okay, all right. So I move that we accept the agenda as amended with those three requested items as named earlier. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so we have accepted the agenda. Adoption of the minutes. We do have minutes provided to us in advance that everyone has the opportunity to read prior to the meeting. I move to accept the agenda, to accept the minutes as written. Any needed changes? Okay. Can I get a second on accepting the minutes as written?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the minutes are accepted and we'll now have the monthly treasurer's report along with 2 quarterly reports from our treasurer, Commissioner Cobb.
Okay, so starting with our March monthly report, we had no transactions, so we have an opening and closing balance of $107,272.39. And the 2 quarterly reports cover the first quarter for fiscal year 21, which is actually the last 3 months of 2020, and quarter 2, which is the first 3 months of this year. At the end of quarter 1, 2021, we had total disbursements of $806,991.62. And in this quarter, we had total disbursements of only $25, giving us a balance right now of $107,272.39. So
Okay. Any questions or discussion from the commissioners on any of those treasurer's reports? Okay, Commissioner Cobb?
all right, well, I move that we adopt the March monthly report and the 2 quarterly financial reports as they are now.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Elmore, I see your,
I'm here.
are you opposed or you just, your mic is going in?
My mic was off. I didn't know my mic was off. No, I don't
Oh,
oppose.
okay. Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you so much, Commissioner Cobb. And then next up on our agenda, we have the public safety report. I did see someone listed as Captain Merrill online. So you'll be next up on our agenda. After we get the public safety report, we'll hear from the mayor's office, followed by the Ward 5 council member's office. So Captain Merrill, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Just going over the stats for the past 30 days. We've had 1 homicide, 6 ADWs, and 5 robberies, which brought our total crime down 25% for this month. But the robberies, that's an issue. We did make an arrest regarding that, so hopefully that would abate those robberies that we were having. We also had 2 burglaries, 8 stolen autos, and 23 thefts. That's basically all we have for crime for ANC 5D. If anyone had any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I haven't really noticed, we haven't really had any patterns that I've noticed in the past month. We still are maintaining our details in Carver Terrace and in Langston. We did have a shooting down in Rosedale earlier in the month, but we think that was an isolated incident. But that's all we got so far.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm Commissioner Bernice Blackdale, ANC Commissioner for 5D04. I wanted to know, was there any updates on the shooting that happened on 22nd Place, 21st and Maryland Avenue and M Street a couple of nights ago?
Yeah, well, we have no updates on it so far. We do think it was an isolated incident. We've had officers up in that area constantly for the past 2 months. We don't really know how that incident even popped off because we were in the area. But no, there's no updates as of now as far as the detectives go. We do feel it's an isolated incident. We don't know if it's a result of a beef with Trinidad or Red Zone. We haven't had any retaliations or any sounds of gunshots, so I'm not sure if it was a beef between 2 crews. But if we do have any information, I definitely will share it with you.
Thank you. Are those areas part of the summer crime initiative program? Because during the summertime, those are the areas that are very hot.
Yes, I don't know exactly the areas. From what I've been told, the chief hasn't announced the final summer crime initiative, but the area is going to be the same as it was last year, but shorter. It's going to be smaller. It's going to mainly contain Carver Terrace. It's not going to have as much of Rosedale involved with it, but it is going to include the 1100 block of 21st Street this time as well. So the FCI will be smaller. Your areas, the 2100 block and M Street and all of that, I'm not sure that is going to get included. Like I said, I haven't seen the final SCI from the chief yet. But once I do get it, be
Yeah,
sure.
is
I'll
it
be sure to share.
possible? Can you stress that we get presence in those areas? Because just like I said, I've been an ANC commissioner since 2010, and those areas right there are really, really, really bad hot spots. Also with that horseshoe area down in Langston Terrace.
Oh, yes, man. That Langston Horseshoe is definitely going to be part of the SCI. I can promise you that. And as far as the other areas, the chief is well aware. As you know, the chief grew up in Carver Terrace, so
Mm.
he has a connection to that area. So he will definitely be, he will make sure that 5D SCI is tight. I will speak to him as well, but he has my input on the SCI, so it's just up to him to make the final determination.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners before we go to the public? Please,
I have one question.
give me just 1 second. Please, if you're a member of the public, remember to put your questions in the Q&A box. So if you'll go ahead and do that now, we'll move on to constituent questions as soon as we finish with commissioner questions. Go ahead, Commissioner Hoffman.
No worries, that was important info. Captain Merrill, I have one question centering around some emails that some constituents of mine have brought to my attention from last year in 2020. We did not have someone in my current seat at that time regarding an incident on October 26th that was classified as a shots fired and not technically, I guess, a crime as far as NPD is concerned, where two gentlemen were in fact shooting at each other, where video evidence was provided to MPD, and there was little to no follow-up on that incident that occurred at Oren and Neal Street, which you may know that there's been increased police presence on that corner with a spotlight and recent increased patrols in that area that I've witnessed. Can you explain why something wouldn't be considered a crime when two individuals are shooting at each other, how that's not considered a crime and there's no follow-up with either the community or with MPD investigating that situation?
Well, Commissioner, I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. We don't classify people shooting at each other as shots fired. That's assault with a deadly weapon. So I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
I would believe you if I didn't have 7 emails with you copied and responding to that effect, essentially, from the constituents. This all happened between June and October of last year. That
Well,
you
Commissioner,
acknowledge it was
I don't-
classified as a shots fired and not assault.
I
with a
don't see the
deadly weapon.
emails. I don't have the email that you're looking at, sir.
Okay, well, I have your responses and several emails about it, so I'm just curious why that was.
Like I said, Commissioner, I don't know exactly what you're speaking of.
Okay, well, we can follow up maybe in a different context and talk about that.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, and I'm not seeing any questions or any raised hands from the constituents. Okay, I do see one raised hand. We've got Ms. Diggs. Bosco, if you could unmute Ms. Diggs so that she can share her question.
Good evening. Captain Merrill, I just wanted to piggyback on Commissioner Blacknell's request. We need all the help we can get here at the 1100 block of 21st Street between M and Maryland Avenue. And so when you said, did I understand you to say that Carver Terrace is not a part of the Summer Crime Initiative, or you said something about a smaller area? Could I get clarification?
Yes. Yeah, Commissioner. No, I didn't say Carver Terrace isn't going to be part. Carver Terrace is going to be the main part of the SCI. The 1100 block of 21st, I did say, is going to be a part of the SCI as well.
I'm in a meeting. Can you please cut it down a little bit?
Hold on. Commissioner Blacknell, can you please mute?
All right, sir. Thank you very much. And I have appreciated seeing the officers in the neighborhood recently.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Diggs. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I do see one question popping up in the Q&A box. Desiree Williams, there have been increases of loitering of a group of 8 to 12 guys in the side street of L Street. And she's not sure of the cross street. So I guess we're just highlighting that. I'm guessing it's what, 18th Street? But you know, her complaint is about the side street on L.
It's the 17th place. And Captain Moore, that's the one we spoke on. This is Latoya Moore. We spoke in reference to that one on our meeting today.
Okay, very good. And then I'll just reference some conversations that we've been having about Benning Road as well. I think it's important to know that, you know, we have noticed the issues going on there. I've spoken to Captain Merrill about it. You know, the increase in loitering and some of the other behavior that we know in that parking lot, you know, can lead to dangerous situations. And so we are taking steps to, you know, hold the property owner, the store owner accountable for making sure that they're enforcing, you know, their own agreement with the community about not allowing that behavior. And then we are going to have increased MPD attention to hopefully prevent any tragedy from taking place at that location, because we can already see the change in activity there going into the summer. Okay, so I don't see anything else from the public. Thank you so much, Captain Merrill. And we'll move on to the mayor's office. I see both of our MOKers here online. So if you'd like to give us updates from the mayor's office, I'd appreciate it.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. I don't have my video on. I'm having some difficulties with my camera, but nonetheless, I'm going to keep my comments and my updates brief. I'm Brittany Butler from the mayor's office. My partner, Nokomis Hunter, is the other Ward 5 liaison. For those of you who've not met us yet, thank you so much, commissioners, for inviting us to the meeting. My first update, I wanted to let you guys know that if you have any homebound seniors in your SMDs who are interested in getting vaccinated, please email me or Nokomis as soon as possible. We don't have the details hashed out yet, but we are working on an initiative to get our homebound seniors vaccinated. So if you know anybody who's a senior or has a medical condition that keeps them confined to their house, please let us know so we can work out something to get them vaccinated. The second update that I wanted to share with you all, and this was mentioned in the mayor's situational update earlier this morning, that we are pausing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine distribution. So if you are somebody who went online and made an appointment to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, you will be receiving an email soon stating that you will need to go back online and log a new appointment, and that new appointment will either give you Pfizer or Moderna. Again, right now we are putting a pause on giving people the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and this was a unanimous decision between Department of Health and the CDC. Does anybody have any questions? All right, commissioners, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to put myself on mute.
Brittany,
Commissioner Hoffman, it looked like you, okay, go ahead.
I just had one question. Is it the same vaccinate.coronavirus.dc.gov, whatever the website is, to schedule a new appointment? It's the same situation as they did before if they do need to make a new appointment?
Yes, it's vaccinate.dc.gov, but let me clear up some confusion. The DC Department of Health will send those people an email for when they can go online and schedule a new appointment. They don't need to arbitrarily schedule a new one. The system is going to send them an email saying, hey, we know you registered for an appointment to get Johnson & Johnson. Right now, we are not giving out Johnson & Johnson. Please click this link so you can schedule a new appointment and you can choose between Pfizer and Moderna.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and move forward in the agenda to the Ward 5 Council Members Office. Is there anyone on from Ward 5 Council Members Office? Okay, I do see Silas. Bosco, if you could promote Silas to a panelist so that he can share with us. Okay.
Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right. I'll also be brief. I want to thank the commissioners in 5D who helped out in identifying seniors to get vaccinated over at Edgewood Rec a few weeks ago. We were able to partner with Johns Hopkins Medical as well as DCHA. And there were nearly 1,000 residents vaccinated at that location on that day. So thank you to commissioners and the civic leads in 5D for helping us to identify as many folks as possible to get vaccinated. Also, just want to briefly thank also folks who attended the town hall meeting on COVID-19 and the vaccine process. We had Howard University medical experts join us this past Saturday. And for those who follow the council member on Facebook, the video is still up for those who missed it on Saturday. And we're also going to send it out through Kelly Sislow's email to all the civic leads and the ANC commissioners for folks to distribute for those who missed it. A lot of great information. They dispelled a lot of rumors, and it was really good information for folks to be able to receive. The last update that I have is recently, I believe it was April 1st, the Police Reform Commission report was released. And so the council member weighed in on the report. It was almost 300 pages, a very comprehensive report, which laid out a bunch of recommendations. And a lot of the recommendations were related to fully funding and implementing the NEAR Act. And so the council member who's been advocating for the full implementation and funding of that echoed the recommendations and comments that were in the Police Reform Commission report. As many of you know, the NEAR Act is one of Councilmember McDuffie's pillar pieces of legislation. And we're still pushing forward to make sure that those provisions within that legislation is fully implemented. So those are my updates. If there are any questions from commissioners or residents, I can take them now.
Okay, commissioners, any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing anything in the chat box from the constituents, but I will give a reminder that if at any point in this meeting you do have questions, please try to use the Q&A function rather than the chat function so that we can keep track of your questions. Or if you'd like to ask a question verbally, please use the raise hand feature and we will call on you so that you can speak to whoever has presented. And please let them know who you're directing the question to, both in the Q&A as well as if you happen to use the raise hand feature. Okay, I'm still not seeing anything, so thank you so much, Mr. Grant.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move forward in our agenda. We're going to skip ahead for the DPW director because we know that she requested a specific time during the meeting. So we'll move ahead and ask Linda Vernouy, I hope I'm not saying that too horribly, to give us her presentation on energy innovation and the Carbon Dividend Act. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, commissioners. I really appreciate you're giving me a chance to talk about this, about a bill in Congress that we want support from the commissioners. And I appreciate the hard work that you do on behalf of our community. I have a short PowerPoint. Is it possible? Can I don't see a way to hit present. Is there a way to share it?
Yes, so Bosco, if you could make Ms. Vernouy co-host so that she can share her screen. And then you'll see those options coming up in just a moment.
So as soon as I get the PowerPoint, I want to talk a little bit about this bill and how it's going to address the climate challenge. I am a local resident here in 5D, a local property owner and resident here on M Street. So so this is the reason I come to the 5D Commission. It's not up yet, I guess, for me to put no, I don't see anything for, oh, share screen. Okay, maybe I can do that now. All right, great. All right. Screen. Okay. Okay, let me see. Got it up. Issues. This. Right, let's
Oh,
see.
you got it. All right, there we go.
Okay. Beginning. Okay, from beginning. Okay. All right, there we go. So this is just a little bit about me, and I'm concerned about climate change. As I mentioned, I'm a local resident. And, you know, an example of climate change, when I grew up in the urban Northeast, we didn't have or need air conditioners, but now we know summers are hotter. We've got an increase in coastal hurricanes. We've got more flooding, including in my yard in AC. I don't know if other people have problems with flooding in their yard. It doesn't quite look like this picture, but this kind of flooding does happen in other parts of the country. But sometimes my yard does look like a swimming pool. And so there's a bill that's been introduced in Congress, and what it does is a carbon fee and dividend. It basically charges polluters who pollute fossil fuels at the source, and then the money that's collected from the fee will be returned 100% of the net revenue to households as a dividend to everyone in the country. So that's basically what the bill does. Is 36 co-sponsors in Congress now, including some local sponsors here in, like we have Gerald Connolly in Virginia. So there's some people in the DC area who are sponsoring this. So the benefits of the bill is it would get us to net zero greenhouse gas by 2050. It would make clean energy more affordable, and it would save lives and it would put money in your pockets. So affordable clean energy, it would be as the bill ratchets up, it makes clean energy the most affordable option rather than polluting fossil fuels. And it saves lives. We have people who have asthma, and that results from pollution, from air pollution and pollution from fossil fuels, which cause as much as 1 in 10 American deaths are caused by air pollution, which causes lung illnesses. So over time, this would save 4.5 million American lives over 50 years. And as I said, it puts money in your pockets as a monthly dividend that Americans can spend however they want. Low and middle income Americans will come out ahead or break even. It'll create more jobs in clean energy. And as I said, it'll be healthier. Today, we have 350,000 lives lost each year from air pollution. So it will reduce that problem over time even more. And families get paid. In 10 years, a family of 4 will get almost $3,000 a year in the dividends. We have statements of support from some of these well-known people. I just love actor Don Cheadle, some of the things he's been in. So he's been spoken out in support, as well as some of these other people. So why do we want 5D commissioners to act? By you acting as the local neighborhood politicians, this will influence other community leaders, such as Councilman Kenyon McDuffie, to endorse this bill. I will approach his office later on. And what we really need is Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton to be a co-sponsor of the bill, because she's definitely influential in Congress. So that's why we need ANC commissioners to act. This is more information about the bill. If anybody wants to look at the website, has more questions. And that's my contact information, my phone number and email. If anyone has more questions, I volunteer for Citizens Climate Lobby, the group that's been promoting this. And so that's basically the presentation. I don't know if there's any more questions for me about this. I had forwarded a resolution that I wanted to, here, I'll stop sharing here. I had forwarded the resolution to Commissioner Moore, and that I would be interested in having a vote of support from the commissioners on this bill to allow us to get more support in Congress.
So I know we have a link to your website, but I don't know if everyone had an opportunity to read the text of the resolution, the ANC resolution. Other commissioners, if you want to speak up, either you saw it or you didn't see it, let me know.
Want me to send it to everybody? What's the email address to send to everybody?
Everyone has an individual email, so it's 5D01@ANC, 5D02@anc.dc.gov, and it goes on like that 1 through 7.
Through 7, okay. I can send an email to everybody during this meeting. I don't know if everyone has a chance to look at it. Do people want time to look at it and vote on it next month and the next meeting? How do people want to go? And I can attend the next meeting to answer any questions.
Sure, so no one spoke up. Did you not read it?
I've read the resolution.
Okay.
And I am in support of this measure and others like it. And I would look forward to either drafting similar or the same resolution for 5D for our next meeting in May.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Commissioner.
I would love to, anything to save the planet, I'm all for. So I didn't read it, but
that's all right. That's all right. I know the link was a little bit, it was more on the agenda to the website rather than to the actual resolution. So I wanted to make sure to ask. So I'll make a motion first before we close debate and on questions on this. I do have one question, which is who are the current co-sponsors at this time for the legislation?
Yeah, it's the 36 people on the list. The main sponsor is Representative Deutsch, who's from Florida, but we do have people in our area like Gerald Connolly, Representative Delaney from Maryland, who was a former representative. He supports it. So there are some supporters from the local area as well.
Okay, all right. And I'll have very nice pictures on the website.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your willingness to present. So just in the interest of transparency and informed consent, I want to give everyone a chance to read it since, I've got some strange faces here when I said, did you read it? So I move to table for next month's meeting, a vote on the clean energy resolution. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Okay. Any other, any opposed? This is a voice vote, so you have to actually say something. Any abstentions? So I'll go back to the ayes. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. We're going to move forward to or move backward really to the previous guests on our agenda. We do have with us tonight the director, the interim director for DPW, Ms. Christine Davis. I did see her on just a moment ago. And so we're going to ask at this time if she is still on the screen. I'm not seeing her, but if you could unmute and just introduce yourself to the community.
Sorry about that, having difficulty unmuting today. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As Commissioner Moore said, I am Christine Davis. I'm the interim director for DPW. I thank you for your invitation to attend the meeting. I apologize for not attending last month's meeting, but it conflicted with my performance oversight hearing that ran over by a couple hours. So I'm happy to be here with you today to hear your concerns and figure out how DPW can assist you with any of the issues you have in your district.
So I'll go ahead and start just by saying that, first of all, there are a lot of people who are doing a lot of hard work during a pandemic. They're out in the streets dealing with trash, dealing with a lot of issues that, I would not like to have to deal with, especially not during a pandemic. And so the first thing I'll say is thank you to them for that. All the ground level frontline workers who are really working hard. The second thing I'll say is this, and it's, we've been having issues with getting consistent DPW service for years. And that's been something that's been going on in this community long before there was a pandemic, that we just did not get the kind of service that I think anyone who pays taxes in this city would expect to see. And so the troubling issue for me now becomes that with any agency, typically you escalate those issues. You have the people you see every day, you talk to them about the issues. If they can't resolve it, it works its way up the food chain until you're talking to the boss's boss's boss. And at some point, the issues continue to be resolved and only the most intractable issues make it to the director level. And that's not happening at DPW. Every single issue ends up going straight to the top. And that's the number one concern I have, is that even for issues that should be able to be resolved at a middle manager level, it goes on and on for years. It goes on and on for months, for small issues. And so I have a list of issues that I've sent to managers, multiple people, with addresses, with service request numbers, with photographs. And those issues go on and on like an endless story. And even at last month's meeting, we had a series of questions where we wanted a follow-up ahead of this month's meeting about some of the procedures ongoing at DPW. And we didn't get a response between this month's meeting and last month's meeting, even knowing that you as the director would be here. And so I'm just going to start with a few of those questions from last month. And then if constituents have questions that they want to put in the Q&A, if you'll go ahead and do that now, or use the raise hand feature to ask your questions. But the first question I had is, whether or not, and these are just the ones from last month, whether or not DPW would be setting up a joint task force with the Department of Health, ANCs, and other agencies in order to make a list of concrete steps to move forward on some of the more intractable issues at major dumping sites in our community. The number of sweep inspectors that we have in Ward 5 versus in other wards, and how those determinations are made on how to allocate sweep inspector resources. And then what is the specific sweep education schedule for our community, and how can ANC commissioners get more insight into the specifics of that schedule? And so those were the main three things. So I'll stop with those three and let you get a word in edgewise here. But if you could just kind of offer us some insight into those three issues.
Well, I'll start with the first. DPW works collaboratively with our sister agencies, including the Department of Health. We call it the core team. And the core teams, which we primarily lead because we are the organizer, we are primarily out in the communities more so than some of the other agencies, but we observe the issues and bring in our sister agencies to help resolve these issues. So I gather by the question that you're not seeing much of the core team or the efforts of the core team.
I would say that's correct. And I would say we're very proactive as ANCs. Whenever those meetings are taking place, if we could be made aware, I'm sure you would have us in attendance as well.
Okay, the core teams are during the day. They do walkthroughs in the communities and address the issues. We have members from several agencies so that each member agency can address the issues that we observe in the area. So I will circle back with my deputy director, who is leading the core team effort, and ensure that we are addressing the issues, or at least convening to attempt to address and resolve the issues that you've raised. Celeste Duffy, who is who I believe is on the call, I'm sure she has the list of addresses, and she also works with the core team so that we can ensure that we are addressing the issues that you've raised, not just things that we observe, but problems that you are raising for us to tackle.
Okay.
Regarding sweeps inspectors, there are 30 sweep inspectors. We had a couple retirements during the pandemic, so there are 30 sweep inspectors spread out throughout all 8 wards. Your ward, Ward 5, has more inspectors than others because of some of the intractable areas in Ward 5. Traditionally, if there are 32 inspectors, there's supposed to be 4 for each ward. But what we do is we move resources to address more issues. So Ward 5 has more inspectors than, for example, Ward 3.
So can I ask about that? I have a follow-up. So I've only ever met 2 sweep inspectors for Ward 5 this at any point during this year. Can you tell me who those inspectors are? Who the 5 inspectors are that are assigned to ANC?
No, I said you had 4.
I'm sorry, the 4 that are
Yeah.
assigned to Ward 5.
Yes, I don't have their names. They recently shifted assignments. For a long time, you used to have Justin Ngea, who was a Ward 5 inspector, but we shift the inspectors around to ensure that each ward is receiving appropriate level of service. So we move people about so that they can become familiar with other areas and not become complacent or too comfortable or overly familiar with any particular ward in the city. So Mr. Ngea is no longer with you. I know that's a loss, but you do have you have 4 more inspectors. I don't know who their names are right now. I apologize. I should have gotten that for this meeting, but I did not do that.
Do you know when the switch took place, but from the 2 inspectors to the 4? How recent was that?
That was within the last year.
Okay, like within the last few weeks?
No, within the last year.
Okay, because as recently as a month ago, the last information I had was with 2 inspectors. So I guess we'll follow up about the other 2.
Yes, we will get back to you with that one. Now, regarding, there is no set schedule for doing education with the sweep inspectors. They do education as needed. The goal is to educate residents before we ticket them, the enforcement aspect. So the sweep inspectors educate. The education can be as simple as having a conversation, explaining to a business owner or to a resident how they're supposed to set out their trash and what is appropriate and what is not. There's also the provision of materials that we print up explaining how to set out when your trash day is and things of that nature. So there is no one scheduled date or a particular schedule. The sweep inspectors provide that information as they deem necessary.
So I guess what we're really trying to track is not whether there's a specific schedule where they go around and do education on a regular basis, but that when we're bringing up issues, are they going to communicate back with us in any meaningful way as ANC commissioners to say, yes, we did conduct education on this date. Yes, we did, conduct the required follow-up a week later. Now our procedure is to escalate this through the fine structure, because every time I'm addressing an issue, what I'm finding is that it's the very first time whatever person you're talking to has ever heard of it, even if you have 5 service requests, for every single one of the problems that you're talking about. So it's like it's cat and mouse. You're starting over every single time there's an issue, rather than escalating that same issue for that same address and saying, okay, well, we've come out, we've done education, we followed up on that. You've been issued a first fine, you've been issued a secondary fine, and making sure that rather than, education, as though it's the first time on a particular issue over and over again. We don't know there's no transparency for us as ANC commissioners as to what's going on.
Okay, our inspector should be able to provide that information to you. When I ask for that information, I get the information. So you should be able to receive the information as well.
Okay, so what steps can we take to make sure that that is happening? Because I think, the gap here for us is we know we have a general sense of what is supposed to be going on and that there are processes, but then they're not followed. And then when you try to escalate those up the food chain at DPW, I've talked to the director of sweep and it was, well, have you guys just tried cleaning up the trash? And I'm talking about pallets of concrete because he felt like it was not a good use of his time to continue to do that over and over again. Now, mind you, it's not a good use of my time, and I'm not even able to pick up concrete. But to get to the point where you're escalating that to somebody who is, at that level of an agency and they're kind of throwing up their hands and not even reviewing the issues, that's disappointing.
There is no excuse for that or for that response. I will follow up with the head of sweep, but you can always reach out to our deputy director, Mike Carter. Like I said, he is over the core teams. He's over our operations for the agency. They report directly to him. He can help resolve these issues if you're not getting the information that you seek or the
Okay.
responsiveness that you seek.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is we keep a running spreadsheet in ANC 5D of all of our issues, with the service request numbers, the original dates, the addresses, descriptions of the challenges that we're facing. And we'll share those directly with Mr. Carter to follow up and see if we can't get some resolution on those specific issues. But I'm not going to monopolize the conversation this evening. I've said enough. So were there any other commissioners who had comments or questions before we move on to questions and comments from the public?
Yes, me, Latoya Moore. Hi, Ms. Davis. Thanks for being on. My question is, again, just to piggyback on what Seidel Moore said, I'm Latoya Moore, the chain of command. Typically, when I send a request via 311, and I just want to be clear, this shouldn't be a just complaining section, because I do commend your staff on what they've done through this pandemic as well. It's just that it's become frustrating for what has happened since the pandemic has started just to ease up a little bit. We're still not getting the resources that we've received prior to pandemic. So I don't want you to think that we're just here to complain, because we're not, because when they did a good job, they really did a good job. So, but my issue is, I've spoken with a lot of the directors in regards to illegal dumping and sweeping and those trash bin emptying and things like that. My issue is, why do we always have to copy the director or move up the chain? That's just letting us know, and this is just for your situation awareness, that your subordinates are not doing their job when it has to come to you or come to a director's level. Because like she said, these are minimal requests and minuscule requests that could be just executed just on that first level, but they're ignoring our requests over and over again, where we have to include chains of command and go into directors and escalating. And there should be some sort of education at your agency now that you're new coming in, just to say, why are these requests getting to us? Why are the requests even getting to the level under me? Because that means nobody is doing their job under them. So I just wanted to make that comment going forward. If certain levels of positions do their job, it wouldn't even get to you. You wouldn't even have to be on this meeting to explain, things that aren't getting done and why they aren't getting done.
I appreciate your comment. I have made it very clear to staff that I understand why I'm receiving complaints, but I don't appreciate receiving the complaints, because they should be resolved before I ever see anything. Many of the complaints I receive, missed trash collection, or my trash was missed. This is the third time this month. There's no reason that I should receive those complaints. I should only be made aware of intractable issues where they need my decision-making or my resources, my financial resources thrown, or some other executive decisions that need to be made to resolve an issue. So I've made that abundantly clear to the supervisors. I am not excusing their inattention or non-response to your requests or your concerns. However, I do want you all to understand that they are also overwhelmed. Just like the general community has been impacted by COVID, and I know you said you were having these issues prior to, but COVID has only exacerbated the issues in that we are dealing with staff shortages on a regular basis. It's not been so much so that it's stopped our operations, but it's delayed the delivery of our operations. And I'll give you an example. In order to collect all of the household waste that we're supposed to collect on any given day, we're supposed to get 57 trucks out. That's for trash and recycling. Since the pandemic, I think I can count on one hand the number of times that we've had all 57 crews available to us to get the trash out. So in order to get the trash up, because trash is a pass fail every day, it must be collected the day that it's set out. We've had to work our crews overtime in order to make up for the shortages in staff because of COVID. So I don't say that they are ignoring you all the time. I am saying that some of it is because they are overwhelmed during the pandemic. Granted, this was happening before and it needs to be corrected, but I just want you to understand, yes, we're out there working, but they're also short-staffed and they're struggling to keep up as well. But
Thank you.
I will address the issue with staff once again.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
Yeah, I have some comments. First of all, thank you for coming to speak with us. I do appreciate it. At the beginning of your presentation, you asked, can DPW help us? My question is, will DPW help us? And as far as I have seen, the answer is no. This is not a matter of COVID. COVID might be exacerbating the issues, but the issues were there long before. I have a dozen paint cans in the back of my alley, spewing paint onto the ground. I've had 2 tickets closed on those, and after 2 months, the paint cans are still there leaching into the environment. I have an apartment building owner who dumps bulk trash routinely into the alley. He's already been educated by the sweep team, but he doesn't care because there's no enforcement. These are systematic issues from the top to the bottom, through and through, that our community has faced for years and years. And I just want to make it clear that we are going to need to see dramatic change quickly, because it was already bad to begin with, and now it's just getting worse.
I hear you.
I had one thing. Director Davis, is it possible to organize some kind of program or some way to get trash cans to people who have had their trash cans stolen? I have a senior resident on Morse Street, actually, who had a trash can removed from their property, and they are now no longer with a can, and she lives on a fixed income. She lives on Social Security, and she is unsure she can afford the fee that's charged to get a new trash can.
If her trash can was stolen, it will be replaced at no charge.
Okay. The follow-up on that is I sent Miss Duffy an email about a month ago about getting that trash can, and I haven't heard anything back about that. So she gave me about a lead time of a month. So now she's been 2 months without a trash can. Her trash is not getting picked up behind her property because it's not in a trash can, which we learned from last meeting. It's not something that's going on because it's not containerized. So we need to follow up on that. And
that request has been sent to Val.
I'll add this. I'm the ANC commissioner, and I have a trash can request that is how many years old at this point? Maybe almost 3 years ago, I requested a trash can after my own trash can got hit by a car. You know, I have constituents who've had trash can requests in for 2 and 3 years. And maybe you hear back that the trash can will be delivered. It never shows up. The ticket is closed. They put in a new ticket. Referencing the old ticket number in the comments, and then that ticket is immediately closed, claiming that the trash can's already been delivered, as though they're just filing these 311 requests, you know, as a hobby. And so I think, you know, just to really piggyback off of, you know, what's been said here in general is that, we get that there's a dire situation in terms of the people who are on the front line doing the work and them not really having the resources to, when their colleagues are out sick and all of these things are going on. But I guess, well, a lot of it strikes us as a management issue where there's an issue where we had people who were not even supposed to have super cans in 4-unit buildings, just making a disastrous mess in one of the alleys. And instead of just going through the process to escalate at all with those property owners, they were just sending the crews out repeatedly to clean up that mess. And then so that adds to the issues that the frontline workers are having in terms of not having resources just based off of that management decision, not to take the proper steps to address the root cause. It's wasting already limited resources just by not managing those resources properly. So let's move.
I think just part of it, Commissioner Moore, part of it is I feel kind of stupid and I feel like I'm lying to people when I say, please use the 311 app. Please put in reports. Please get it done. Please, that helps me because I can't be everywhere all the time. And then it doesn't get fixed. So I feel like I'm letting everyone down by telling them to do this and it doesn't get fixed. And it's constantly just not, and they close the tickets. It's not that they're not responding. They close the tickets. They're not closed. They're not fixed. And I know there's lead time between illegal dumping. They close the ticket, somebody comes out, whatever. I understand the nuances of that. But the desk on the corner is still there. It was illegally dumped and the ticket's been closed for 2 weeks. I don't know why it's not gone. So I just want to feel confident that when I tell people to use 311, 311 is going to do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And when we have a spreadsheet of all of these issues that we use that we can share after the meeting, I guess, what we're really saying here is that we do want to make sure that there's actually going to be some follow-up on those items because oftentimes, we'll have someone from DPW come out even to our ANC meetings to discuss the specific issues. And we'll follow up next month, we'll follow up next month, and we'll follow up next month. And every month it's like no one's ever heard of these things before. And so it's to the point where we're talking to you as the director, even though, like you stated, it's not an executive level issue that some person doesn't have a new trash can. That could have been handled at a much lower level of the organization. So we'll move on to community comments. And then if you're looking to use the raise hand function, please find that on your screen. And if you have a written question, use the Q&A function. So Reed May says there is a bus stop at 19th and L that has a shattered wall. The glass has been on the sidewalk for about a week. I've reported this, but it's still unresolved.
I'll forward the request for staff so that the area can be cleaned. Based upon what I'm hearing today, I am going to spend some time with some of my staff in your areas. I'll use the information provided on the list. Will just pop up and I will have staff explain to me why these issues haven't been addressed and why they chose to take the action that they've taken. And we'll discuss it and work through some of the issues. And I want to empower them to resolve the issues without them having to be raised to my attention.
Okay. And then our last question from the public comes from, or second to last, comes from Desiree Williams. Is there a report they complete, DPW staff, after the completion of projects in the area? If so, can we have a ledger of those reports?
There isn't a specific report. What they do is report back to their supervisor via their handhelds. They are supposed to photograph to document that the service has been provided so that the service request can be closed, or they inform their supervisors that they've taken care of everything on their route for that particular day. So there is no one particular report that I could provide that would show you all the things that were done within your ANC on any given day.
Okay. Chandler Gould, Commissioner Hoffman is correct. Many times on multiple issues, 311 closes a ticket when nothing has happened. And so that's just a comment. And then our last comment slash question comes from Danielle Bays. Most of what we do regarding trash and dumping is reactive. What is DPW doing that is proactive to prevent the problems in the first place? There are known areas where trash is improperly disposed of and dumping happens repeatedly. Hundreds of 311 requests over the years. All we've gotten is a sign posted, no escalation or enforcement.
Well, the sign is the beginning of the enforcement process. So there are cameras. We do have illegal dumping cameras that we move about the city based upon hotspots or areas where we experience a lot of dumping. We have several in your ANC, and we move them about. The problem is actually catching the people and pursuing them. We may see someone dumping something, but we can't identify them or we can't identify the vehicle. We look through the materials that they dump to look for some identifying information, but that's not always successful either. So it's difficult to say that there is one thing that is going to stop illegal dumping, or there's one thing that we do proactively. We do the cameras, we do put the signs up, but illegal dumping is a crime of opportunity. Most people aren't going to dump in a well-trafficked area because they'll be spotted by someone and reported by someone and then caught for doing that. So the difficulty is monitoring the area and preventing the illegal dumping. Sometimes the only way to do that is have someone posted at the area, and we don't have the resources to have that done. So we've resorted to using the cameras. The cameras sometimes work and sometimes don't. It's just one of the tools that we have to try to address illegal dumping, but I don't know of any one tool that is 100% successful in addressing illegal dumping.
Okay, so I'll say this, I think what Ms. Bays is referencing is the other part of that issue, which is that, for instance, there is, and I can't remember off the top of my head the exact address, but there's a vacant lot where this is a repeated issue. That's a negligent owner. The city has tried to go the nuisance property route, but there's no, in order to do that, you have to show a clear track record of escalation as a city before you can just deem someone. You can't just start with nuisance property. And that's something that we haven't been able to show. So for a lot of these vacant properties or bank-owned properties where we're having some of these illegal dumping issues, another thing to consider other than just the dumpers would be the property owners taking responsibility, even for such things as properly securing the site. And that would be a good example of sort of, cross-agency collaboration opportunities, and then being able to escalate. And that is kind of one of the more intractable issues to another agency like, OAG or the Department of Health or DCRA or Environment and Energy, who all ever needs to be involved in order to address that, not just with the dumpers, but with the property owner. So I do see we do have a few more comments here. I don't think, just in the interest of time, that we'll be able to get to everyone, but I'll try to get to as many as possible. Patrick Molitoris, sorry if I'm butchering your name. When we received a closed notice on a ticket, is there a way for us to immediately respond and say, no, it's not, help? Can the people closing tickets take photo evidence that work has been completed?
Staff are supposed to take photos. I don't know that it is something that you're able to see through 311, but it's for our system, our internal DPW system. We are supposed to document the closure of requests, or let's say someone says there's an illegal dumping, we're supposed to take a picture of the illegal dumping after we've cleaned it and things of that nature. I don't know that you're able to see that through 311. Regarding replying back, I don't know that is an option in the 311 system, but I will inquire to see if that is something that we can do. There are some other concerns that other agencies as well as DPW have had with the 311 system. So we are raising these issues, trying to have some adjustments made to the system. You know, one of the things that I want to ensure, you know, I think standardizing the responses to certain requests will help our residents understand. So when someone goes in for an illegal dumping, it's a two-step process. And you don't know that unless you talk to a sweep inspector or you've talked to someone else from DPW. You don't get that sense of clarity from 311. The first step of the process is having the sweep inspector coming out to investigate to determine if they can identify anyone and issue a ticket. So then after sweep does their part of it, they're supposed to go back into the system saying investigation complete. Now it's been forwarded to street and alley cleaning for cleaning, and it will be done in X days. I want that type of clarity in 311 to ensure that residents understand where the process is, so that they understand we're not just saying it's closed and the materials are there. Step one has concluded. Now we're moving on to step two. So those are some of the things that we're looking to clarify or improve with the 311 system. So I will raise this issue about requests that are closed prematurely, and how to address those, or if the resident can reply back and say, no, it's still there, and how 311 could assist in that effort.
Okay. All right. And then from Gwen Rucker, and I think this is kind of a more executive level question. Are there any best practices from other neighborhoods, any budget initiatives to address these issues? And I think that that's something you could address.
Well, I don't know that there are any best practices. Illegal dumping, like I said, occurs in areas where it can be secreted. It's not going to happen on Connecticut Avenue because everyone is moving up and down Connecticut Avenue, but it happens in behind residential homes or in areas that aren't frequented by vehicles or pedestrians. I know that many residents ensure that there's appropriate lighting in the back, motion sensor lighting, so that someone believes that if they're out there doing something, the light comes on, it may force them to move on because they believe they've been outed, basically doing something illegal. Beyond that, I'm not aware of any other best practices or anything that any other area of the city has implemented that got rid of illegal dumping. As I mentioned, illegal dumping is everywhere. It's a crime of opportunity. I have something that I need to get rid of. I'm in an area that's kind of dark, nobody's around, so I'm just going to drop the materials here and nobody will ever be able to identify. So unfortunately, I don't have any advice for best practices other than well-lit areas or motion sensor lighting that would help reduce the amount of illegal dumping.
Yeah. Is there any budget initiative on the part of DPW to get kind of, just like there are traveling cameras that are sometimes used to get traveling lighting, that's the motion detected lighting?
Well, we have cameras. Well, we expect in the next budget season to be able to purchase additional cameras in the effort to catch illegal dumpers. I don't know what the specs for the cameras are, but you know, there have to be certain conditions in which the cameras will work. We have to be able to secrete the cameras so that other people don't knock them down or damage the cameras, because then we've wasted our resources if people can easily spot where the cameras are and damage them. Beyond purchasing additional cameras, I don't have any other budget initiatives regarding illegal dumping. We're doing more campaigns, virtual media, social media campaigns on illegal dumping and the appropriate use of the litter bins. You should see that on Nextdoor, on Twitter, Facebook, and things of that nature. We're doing those type of campaigns now, hoping to re-energize or remind people what their responsibilities are regarding appropriate disposal of trash.
Yeah, and I just have one suggestion there. It would be helpful to also get that kind of signage on the trash cans themselves in locations where there are repeated issues with people putting household trash in the public litter cans. And then another thing I would share is that we've had certain blocks that have just had horrible issues with litter over the years that have begun to see improvements. And one of the things that has really helped is setting a tone that cleanliness is important. And so being consistent about cleaning in the first place and then doing those types of campaigns has been really helpful, because when you do them when it's already dirty, people take it as a joke. That there are now signs saying don't litter, and it actually attracts more litter as kind of a thumb in the eye. Commissioner Rhodes, I didn't see until just now you got your little hand in the corner.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the traveling cameras. We've been complaining about the illegal dumping on Gallaudet Street where the Cornell School is. And a lot of people see that as an opportunity to drop off mattresses and big household items like dressers and secretaries and stuff like that. So how can folks get on the list for the traveling camera? Because when I call, they don't say anything about the cameras. They just ask, do I feel like it's illegal dumping? And I'm like, yeah, it's illegal dumping. Did I see it? No, I didn't see it. I don't live on Gallaudet Street. So how long does the camera sit in one spot? How can we get on the list for the traveling cameras? And when there's not an owner, DGS owns that building. So how can we get a camera on Gallaudet Street? That's been a problem for years.
I'll talk to the sweep, environmental crimes unit and our sweep unit. We determine placement of cameras based upon the frequency of dumping, how often we have to go back to particular areas. Again, we have cameras for the entire city, not just for one area. So we are deploying them based upon the need in a particular area or how frequent we have to go back. So I will have to talk to our sweep and our environmental crimes unit to determine where next are we placing cameras. And like I said, and when the new fiscal year gets here, we should have more funding for more cameras.
So we're gonna go to another couple of constituent questions before we go to Commissioner Hoffman, and then try to wrap up this portion of the meeting on time. Thomas Prentice, can anything be done about parking in the area of 22nd Street and I Street Northeast and at the bottom of Maryland Avenue? And at the bottom of Maryland Avenue is a trash dump all the time.
Okay, what issues regarding parking are you referencing?
Okay, and Mr. Prentice, if you could just type, a follow-up question there. While he's doing that, we'll go to another constituent and then come back to him. Holly Malone, how many cameras does the city have?
I don't know the number.
All right, and then we'll go back to Matal Lyons Warren. Do we know why they are illegally dumping? Are there no city dump sites for larger items for free?
Well, I found that most of the people who dump are people who are not residents. District residents can go to the trash transfer station and dump bulk items at no charge. The only issue is you must be a district resident. So if you're not driving a district tagged vehicle, you must have a district license in order to get into the premises. Non-DC residents are not allowed to dump, even at no cost, unless they are a commercial entity that has an account with the District of Columbia and pay for the dumping and disposal fee. So I find that most of the people who are dumping in the district are not district residents. And it's difficult to catch them if we don't have a plate, if we can't positively identify them through the materials, or catch them in the act. Catching them in the act requires, of course, MPD to be with us. And on occasion, MPD does work with us in trying to catch serial illegal dumpers, but it's difficult to catch them in the act. There are places to dump. It could be sheer laziness. I don't know. But we have a place for district residents to dump their materials. It's just that those who don't live in the district can't dump in the district.
Okay. And then Mr. Prentice has gotten back to us. Cars that are not from the area that park in the space in between the cars, can parking lines be used?
Well, parking lines is a DDOT issue. They are actually the ones who determine the regulations for parking. We enforce the regulations that DDOT puts in place. Now, for vehicles that are out of state during the pandemic, parking enforcement, many of the regulations that we enforce has been relaxed because we knew that many people would be staying home because of the quarantine and the impacts of the pandemic. However, when the mayor resumes operations or moves us into the next phase of the public health emergency, parking enforcement will begin to resume, and we'll be able to start enforcing the registration of out-of-state automobiles and many of the other parking violations that had not been enforced during the pandemic.
Mhm. Okay, and then just really quickly, Holly Malone was following up on the number of cameras question to ask if you even had a rough estimate of the number of cameras the district has for illegal
I do
dumping.
not. I don't want to give you a number and it be wrong.
Okay. And then so we'll go to last constituent question or comment, and then we'll move on to the last comment from Commissioner Salceda Guzman. When Rucker, I think a notice of camera monitoring sign would work in many areas, even before the camera is there. So that's her comment. And then Commissioner Salceda Guzman, if you want to go ahead.
Ms. Davis, just want to say thank you for being on tonight's call, and also recently having your team out here on our side of Trinidad on the Mount Olivet end. From the 311 request that we've been putting in these past couple months, and also working with Mokers, we've been able to get some of the issues resolved. So I appreciate the work that y'all put in this year so far. We've gotten some alleys cleaned up, some illegal dumping issues taken care of. But speaking on for one of my constituents that was making comments earlier, we tend to always see, just like Commissioner Rhodes, we tend to always see illegal dumping in the exact same location consistently, either once a week or twice a week. So knowing that you have to bring out your team constantly out here to clean that up, I would love to work with someone from your office and maybe be a liaison for our ANC to see how we can try to figure out some of these issues. Our chairperson mentioned at the last meeting that we would love to see some sort of task force involved. So I just want to let you know, hopefully walking away with this conversation, is that we want to work together to solve the issue. We just don't want to complain, as a lot of us have mentioned today. But anything that you need from us, feel free to reach out to us, because we don't want to consistently make this fester or boil any more than what it already is. So I appreciate the work that your team's been doing so far. And I, as a commissioner, one of the commissioners here in Trinidad, really look forward to working with you moving forward.
I appreciate that. And what I will do is ensure that Deputy Director Carter reaches out to all of you as the core teams move through your ANC, so that we can ensure we are in fact addressing the issues and getting your input on the issues as we move forward and address them.
And then just before we wrap up, I do want to say two kudos directly, or really three. So one is our previous sweep inspector for my area, Inspector Ngaya, who was very proactive and very communicative and did a lot of really hard work for us on some really difficult issues. And then I also want to say that Susan Barnett has been very helpful. When I've had an intractable issue, reaching out to her directly has been, in some cases, the only response I could get, and her moving some work forward. And then I want to thank the two, inspectors who I've been working with recently, in Ward 5, both of those ladies, Inspector Sally, and I know the other inspector just got married, so I can't remember her new last name. Both of those ladies have come out in person and communicated and tried to be as helpful as possible. But I know that they are very much overwhelmed. And so I think really the takeaway, just like Commissioner Salcedo Guzman mentioned, is that, we do want to work together, and we do want to work together in a way so that our frontline workers are not having to be overextended rather than addressing the root causes. And we don't want to always have to bring things to the director level either. With that said, I want to thank you so much for your time and your willingness to hear us out about all the challenges that we're facing. And we really do want to make some proactive steps to work together in a consistent way and have improved communication. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I will convey your congratulatory remarks to the inspectors. And as I mentioned, we want to work with you. We want your input. We need your help to keep it clean. You all are our eyes and ears in helping resolve these issues. And I hope we get to the point where there are no issues. That is my goal, get to the point where there are no issues. So we don't have anything to talk about at any of at your ANC meetings. So that's the goal that I'm working toward.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, you as well. So we are just actually still a little bit ahead of schedule. I predicted this would be a longer conversation than most. So we're going to go ahead and move forward to our consent calendar items. We have first item on our consent calendar is a letter, DOES letter regarding budget requests and the modernization of the employment insurance system, how people are filing for benefits. And the second is a requested item that was just added this evening for after hours permits, construction permits at 440 Penn Street. So does anyone object to either one of those items being on the consent calendar? And just a reminder for folks that if anyone objects to a consent calendar item, it moves to a normal voting action. Okay, hearing no objections, I move that we approve both items on the consent calendar. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward to our regular voting actions. Committee members. So we had a really thorough conversation about ensuring that our committee members are diverse, are representative of the views of the commission and the community, and will really be willing to help us work, to do some of the preliminary research on a lot of the issues that we're facing. We just have a lot of work coming our way because our community is getting a lot of attention in terms of construction, development, transportation projects, grant requests. And so we really do want to be in a position to thoroughly review those items and get community input, before we're voting. And so we have transportation committee members. If there are no, are there any comments or questions from the commissioners in terms of transportation committee members as listed on the agenda? Okay, seeing no requests for discussion, I'd move that we approve all of the transportation committee nominees who have not previously been approved. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so all of the transportation committee members have been approved as listed on the agenda. If there are no nominations in your single member district and you are interested in applying, please go to anc5d.org. And there are applications in the right column for all of our committees. Next up, we have nominees for the grants committee. Any discussion on any of the grants committee nominees? Okay, seeing no request for discussion, I move that we accept all grant committee nominees as listed on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Zoning. And for this committee, I'll just briefly mention that we are, in addition to the normal 2 per single member district members, we are looking for additional members just because the workload is so heavy. So please do apply on our website if you're interested. Any discussion from the commissioners on zoning committee members? Okay, seeing no request for discussion, I move to support all of the zoning committee members as listed on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Okay, so the ayes have it. The Environment Committee is a bit different than the rest of our committees. It's a select committee that only represents the neighbors currently living in Carver Langston, because the primary focus of this committee is to attend PEPCO CAG meetings. And the Community Advisory Group for PEPCO was created as a response to a lawsuit. So the boundaries of the committee membership and participation, are very well defined as part of that lawsuit. And that includes the Carver Langston neighborhood having permanent seats there for as long as the Community Advisory Group exists to address specific spills and other issues. So any comments or discussion from the commission on the environmental committee members? Okay, seeing no request for discussion, I move to approve all committee members for the Environment Committee as listed on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you so much. So we'll move forward. I think we have Maggie Clefstad on the line. If you could raise your hand, Maggie, so that we can see you, or anyone from Rebuilding Together. And then Bosco, if you could elevate them to a panelist when they appear. And hopefully they're not having a technical issue. While we're trying to find someone from Rebuilding Together, let's move forward in the agenda to have Mother Rucker Sandwich Shop. They have requested a stipulated license from ABRA. Commissioner Elmore, do you want to share with us?
I can, but we actually have Ms. Gwen Rucker on the line, ready to answer any questions or concerns. It's just an informal license stipulation wanting to address some adult beverages during the summer and spring months. I think she's going to have a section with like picnic tables and things so you can enjoy your meal as well as an adult beverage. She can answer any questions as far as the public or the constituents if they have additional questions or concerns as to how it would affect her business going forward. And
Okay.
when you are on the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think we see you. If you can go ahead and unmute. And I'll just say briefly while you're looking for that unmute button, that a stipulated license is just sort of a temporary license while the applicant is going through the process of completing the permanent license. It's kind of the easiest way to describe it. So Ms. Rucker, if you'll share with us.
Yes. Hi, commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Moore, for having me, inviting me to discuss this. I am a business owner, a Mother Rucker Subs. I've been at the location ever since, I think 2012. I've been a member of the neighborhood. Also, I live and reside in Trinidad. I live on Orange Street, which is cross. So I live and work in the community. I believe in the community. I've been in the Northeast, for over 20 years. So I've lived in this neighborhood. So I've seen the worst, and I don't know if I've seen the worst, but I've seen a lot of improvement, even though we still have our challenges. so with that said, the goal is, I think it's, when I first got the property in 2012, I knew the neighborhood wasn't ready for, that sort of sit down. I was concerned with, what's happening, at that time. It was, like I said, it was just a different time. But now I think, as we've set in to improve our neighborhoods, and we believe in our neighborhoods. I think, as owners of the neighborhood and everything, we need to be able to sit outside and enjoy a beverage and enjoy an environment. And I think, when you talk about some of these issues, if you don't believe in your neighborhood, and if you're not out there saying, hey, we will be able to should be able to sit out and have coffee and enjoy our environment, then, we might have these issues. So I think, in response to that, I am trying to move beyond my fear and try to create an environment where, people who've paid a lot of money to be in our neighborhoods, to come and let them come out, have a sandwich and a beverage, at their choice, and talk to friends. And with COVID, that's more important now than ever. And so, like, for me, this is something that I want to try as well, invest in that. And also, we are going to do some improvements on the side, like actually canning that trash can sort of with a wooden wall, maybe see what kind of green way we can sort of make that sort of like a visible area. Also, I've worked with Miss Moore to talk about the alley. Miss Moore, we just got a letter on April 8th saying that they're going to do the alley improvement project in our alley. So we were excited about that. And then so also I have been in communication with the Art and Humane Society, where we're trying to get that mural, either have the original artist come back out, or we're trying to hire a new artist to fix that particular area that has been tagged. So we're working with them on that. Also, so, I'm trying to make that side that I haven't been able to use for like 8 years, or, a place where it can be an extension of the business. People can drive by and see people in the neighborhood sitting out, enjoying the neighborhood, not sort of the other version of what you see. So that's where I'm at. I think, it's time, like I said, we're paying more than ever to be in the neighborhood with house prices and stuff. And I think people should see us out in the neighborhood more. So that's where I'm at. What do you guys think? Any questions for me?
Sure. So I guess I have questions that are kind of more just technical in nature for the license. And then I'm sure people have other questions just about kind of the impact on the community. But can you tell me what hours of the day you're planning to serve alcohol?
Well, we are seeking the license until 11. But what I think I'm gonna gradually do is, obviously we're there from 10:30 to 6. So what we're thinking is maybe go to 8 p.m. Not, initially, but we're still going to apply it until 11. Like I said, I'm sort of bracing myself because I want to make sure I engage the community. I've talked to the guys on the corner and I said, look, I'm doing this. This is what it means. I said, and I'm having those dialogues with, people in the community, making sure they understand what I'm doing, and because, I've never had any problem with those individuals. And I know they respect me being a business owner in that community, because before it was vacant. They had many businesses came, was in that building and wasn't successful enough to last as long as I have. So I've tried to do my best in making that corner better, in terms of, improving that location. So basically that's it right now. So, I mean, I'm trying this out, and obviously I'm spending thousands of dollars to do that, because, I want to make sure I'm comfortable with that, because before I invest in more staff and bringing them on more full time, I got to make sure I understand the intricacies as well.
So
Does
then
that
let
make
me
sense?
make a suggestion here that the hours be amended from 10:30 to 11 p.m. and then let's amend them to 11 a.m. And then no later than 10 p.m. as the start and stop times, because typically what happens in this neighborhood is that we as a commission have consistently not approved licenses that start before or after those times. So that would just be consistent with what we're typically approving for other people. So 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, so that wouldn't apply to the liquor stores that are already there. Is that what you're saying?
No, that would apply to liquor stores as well. So typically we make a specific request because, it's in part, it's a safety issue because we don't want people closing those stores at a time when there's a shift change for the police. So we're requesting the 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Times for everyone.
So I have a question, just to piggyback. Ms. Rucker, I thought you were extending the closing hours to 8 p.m. So we would only need to go to 8 p.m., correct?
That's what we're initially trying. Again, I'm trying to, obviously you guys know that it costs thousands of dollars to buy this, right? So I don't want to pigeonhole myself too much in a sense, it's trying to grow the business and I realize the dynamics of the neighborhood. Like I said, I live here. I've been running that business for a while. So I'm just trying to understand what that means for me.
I'm sorry. I think what Seidel was saying, just the consensus for the alcohol beverage consumption or purchase in our area right now is from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. But that wouldn't even have any stipulations on you because you'll be ending at 8 p.m. correct? So you'll still be within those hours, right?
Right. But if I wanted to go to 10, you're saying I can't, or you don't
Yeah,
want me to?
you can. She was going to extend it till 11 p.m.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we all understand what.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. So thank you so much for clarifying. I thought it was something, she said something totally different. So.
So I'm saying 11 a.m. in the morning, no earlier than 11 a.m. and no later than 10 p.m. at night. Because what I heard you say is that although you close earlier, your license request is for 11 p.m. closure.
Yes.
So we're asking if you could amend the license request so that it's 11 a.m. until 10 p.m.
Okay, but so when we open at 10:30, if somebody opens, if somebody wants to buy something, you're saying from 10 to 10:30, 10:30 to 11, I wouldn't be able to.
Right.
Okay.
We're saying start at 11. Yeah. Start at 11 a.m.
Okay. Okay. So 11 to 10.
Yeah. And then the second question I had, because I know Abra's going to ask this as well, is if you have any type of security plan in place, for the location.
Well, that is something I would want to speak to the ANC about. Not the ANC, but also 5D, what they would recommend, just getting this started. But the concept is going to be more so like, I will get the alcohol license, but my concept is sort of like trying to, like, you can have a cold beer or you can have something. Have you ever guys went to, I know this might not be a good example, but I don't know if you guys remember Wet Willie's that was at Union Station a long time ago. You remember that? Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
I'm that old. Okay. So we and also like Laurel Plaza, you know how they do the frozen margaritas. So we were trying to do something in that sort of like frozen. So we were trying to keep it simple. Like right now, even though the alcohol license but we need the tequila to add it into the margarita machine. But you see what I mean? So I'm limiting what I'm sort of selling initially, even though the alcohol, but I'm not going to be in there mixing drinks like you're at a bar. It's kind of like saying, hey, you can get you a beer or you can get you a margarita, kind of like that, limited to sort of like something kind of like, divey sort of, but kind of cool, So
we get it. I guess our questions are more so in line with, there are certain things when you go to Abra you know, as an ANC commission, that you make it clear that you've already discussed these things with the business owner so that they know, okay, you took the steps you need to take before
Well,
you
I'm
offer
willing
the
to,
approval.
yeah, I'm willing to talk to 5D on what security plan they would recommend. Like if I needed to have someone preliminary for like a couple of hours in the afternoon, but you know, I want to make sure that it's not something that's creating
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
know.
it's
I'm
not,
like, I'm trying to figure out if
police. It's, you know,
Huh?
do you have cameras that are gonna be focused on the location where there's seating, if there's seating outdoors, you know, all of that.
Yeah,
You know, how do you
I
plan
have a
on?
security. Yeah, yeah. I have a security camera. Obviously, you know, I have one inside. I have cameras inside. I have cameras in the front of the building, and I'm having a guy put cameras on the side where it
Okay.
would be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I didn't know I would have to come with a security plan. I thought it was sort of
I
like,
mean, you don't. This is a
Mhm.
stipulated license, but I'm bringing it up with you now because, you know, that's only 45 days. And I don't want to wait and then bring it up at the next meeting and then you have 15 days.
Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay. I appreciate this. And I just, you know, like I said, this is like something that I think we need to move. Like, also I was thinking about adding coffee as well, like as well. So, it's kind of like I think we're trying to figure out if it's something that would better the business as well as having sort of like a seating area outside. So we're trying to figure it all out. So security definitely will be in place. I'm going to work with 5D on that more. And if you have anybody particular that you think at 5D would be a good point of contact, that'd be great.
Okay, so we can have Commissioner Elmore reach out to you directly to kind of discuss the next steps, moving forward on the permanent license. But I have the information I need to have in terms of the stipulated license. Do any of the other commissioners have comments or questions in regard to the stipulated license or to the permanent license that you think the applicant should be aware of before the actual final decision is made by APRA?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Rucker. We appreciate your time. I will turn the floor back over to you, Commissioner Elmore, if you want to make a motion.
I make a motion that we move to support the extension of the stipulated license for Mother Rucker subs. All those
second.
Although, go ahead.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Sure, you're very welcome. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which is also a stipulated license from Immigrant Foods. Commissioner Rhodes, do you have any comments, or is the applicant here to make comments?
Yes, Peter Schlechter, he's here on the line and he can talk about his business and the stipulated license.
Peter, we are going to make you a panelist. So whenever you're ready, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. How are you? Thank you very much. I appreciate very much your considering us this evening. We are, our restaurant is called Immigrant Food. We have already one location at 1701 Pennsylvania Avenue, which is right next to the White House. And we're a restaurant that serves delicious fusion food from all the gastronomies that immigrants have brought to this country throughout the decades, well, actually throughout the centuries. And we have recently negotiated a lease at Union Market in which we would like to serve beer and sangria at our restaurant. Immigrant food is a little unusual as a restaurant because in addition to serving delicious food, it also is a platform in which we advocate, educate on the issue of immigration and on behalf of immigrants. We are partners with 5 of the city's most important immigrant service organization, NGOs, Carecen, Casa, Ayuda, Care Coalition. And we, in addition to hosting events and actually sharing our space downtown, we won't be able to do that at Union Market, but our space downtown with them for their events. We also try to engage our customers on the issue of immigration through a weekly email that we send out with ideas on how they can engage with our different NGO partners. And we also have a monthly online magazine which educates on different issues of NGOs, whether it's dreamers or farm workers or the issue of human trafficking. Some of those are the recent magazine issues. So we would love to be at Union. We're looking forward to being at Union Market, and we would love your approval for a stipulated license for beer and sangria.
Okay, and then I'll just ask kind of the 2 same questions to you. Even though you're in Union Market, correct? You'll be inside
inside the market, yes, ma'am.
Okay, but just for transparency and consistency, we want to make it clear to the constituents. If you could just tell us your requested hours for service of alcohol, and if you have a security plan that's separate in any way from the one that's already in place at Union Market.
We have, our hours are going to be 11 to 8. From Monday through Thursday, and then 11 to 9 on Friday and Saturday. And again, 11 to 8 on Sunday. And the security plan that we have is the one that that Union Market has for all of its tenants, which we've been briefed on and is part of our lease.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions from the other commissioners? Okay, so Commissioner Rose, this is in your area. If you'd like to make a motion for us.
I, Commissioner Rose, make a motion to accept the stipulated license for immigrant foods.
Okay, can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Elmore seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you so much, Mr. Schechter.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all of you. And thank you, Commissioner Rhodes.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda from Commissioner Hoffman, we have a request for speed bumps in Trinidad on Staples Street. If you could just tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, so I have a filled out TSA form signed by Holly Malone and a vast majority of the neighbors of the 1300 block of Staples Street Northeast. After a discussion with the neighbors, I drafted a resolution in support of their request for speed bumps that I've been advised by DDOT that is not necessary, but does certainly improve the response time of the request for the speed bumps. So my draft resolution is, I mean, pretty much cookie cutter in the sense that I copied exactly somebody else's draft
The one we always send.
but it was a very good one. Yeah, it was a very good one. I think it was 5A. They did a fantastic job. I sound exactly like I know what I'm talking about. But it really just outlines the base criteria for streets that are eligible for speed bumps, which in my unprofessional opinion, certainly it meets. And I have discussed with DDOT Kelly the street in question, and off the top of her head, it does not scream any kind of red flags that it's not eligible. So in the sense of all of that, the draft resolution just simply supports the application from the neighbors, and the request has been signed by over 19 homeowners and residents in that area. And that's really it.
Okay, all right, yep. I mean, this is the standard template we use for speed bumps. It looks fine to me. Do you want to go ahead and make a motion?
I motion that we support the drafted resolution for speed bumps in Trinidad on Staple Street for the 1300 block.
All right, can we get a second for Commissioner Hoffman's motion? All right, a second from Commissioner Elmore. All in favor? Can I get an aye? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you.
I have a question. Is it possible I could get that for Orange Street? Because we're one block over for Staples, and we get a lot of traffic from the 1300 block of Orange, which is a lot of fast cars going up and down the street. So that would be great. Is it possible?
I think you're in my SMD, Ms. Rucker, and I have a very strong feeling that I'm going to get a lot of emails about speed bumps after this vote, and I'd be more than happy to follow up with you on that after this meeting.
That'd be great. I think I got a lot of seniors on my block, and you know, the traffic coming up from 1300 Orange is crazy. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So then just quickly before we move on to our next item, which is a BZA case, we have a community question. And I think this is more general to alcohol licensing. Cheryl Augustine asks, is there any concern for the activity over by Mudrick's and in front of the church migrating to the other side of the street? It doesn't feel safe going on to that side of Bladensburg at all. And Commissioner Cobb, I believe that's in your area.
Sure. So that intersection right now at Bladensburg and Levis, it sounds like the commenter's concern is with those people going across the street if Mudrick's start selling booze. But as far as the people who congregate there right now, I'm working with DDOT and DCRA and somewhat with MPD to try to figure out if there's anything we can do long-term. I can say right now that that vacant church, a permit has been issued to tear it down and build up something new. I'm just not sure when the owner is going to start on that project, but hopefully once that vacant building is gone, that should help things substantially.
Okay, all
I
right.
think, sorry, may I add?
Sorry, Ms. Rucker, we're gonna have to go ahead and move forward in the meeting because we just have so many agenda items to get to. So we're gonna go ahead and move forward to the next agenda item, which is the BZA case 20275, and that's 1350 Queen Street. Do we have Jennifer Brown on the line to make that presentation?
We do.
Okay, thank
Can you hear
you.
me? Okay, good.
Yes, do you need to share your screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and Bosco, if you could give Ms. Brown that ability.
Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, cool.
It is coming up now.
Let me know when you can see it.
Okay. Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is for a lot area variance relief for 1350 Queen Street. Just a little history, we've kind of been at this for a year, and tomorrow actually is our BZA hearing at 9:30 in the morning. Of course, it was delayed a little bit by COVID and several text amendments that have happened along the way. The applicants both used to be residents of Queen Street in the 60s and 70s as kids. When they married, they knew they wanted to come back to the neighborhood and own a business there. And in 2007, when a 4-unit apartment building became available, they leapt at the opportunity and have been providing affordable housing in a neighborhood that they love. So prior to this application, the applicants have not previously done anything structurally to alter the apartment home, but of course they've maintained it like their home with fixture updates, decor, windows, cabinets, painting, and things of that nature. Regarding the nature of the relief, we have 2 lots 57 and 58 that house a 4-unit apartment building, and each lot is 1,818 square feet. We're proposing to add a 5th unit to the 4-unit apartment building, but of course it will not change the purpose or intent of the apartment. The requisite is 900 square feet of a lot space for each dwelling, which would make that 4,500 square feet, which is needed. And we only had 3,636. So that requires 864 square feet of variance relief. A background a little bit about the grant relief. The current 4 units are about 550 square feet each. We have a total of about 1,100 square feet in the basement, of which 825 is basically empty and idle, and it's basically used for maintenance and storage and utilities and whatnot. The 2 lots, 57 and 58, will be resized and remapped to account for the load change, increasing the property from 4 to 5 units. We'll also be getting a new certificate of occupancy for amending the property from 4 units to 5 units. And we'll be combining both the lots 57 and 58 into 1 lot on the building plat, and that's already underway with the surveyor's office. Of course, the Trinidad Langston is a desirable community, and we just feel like we should have affordable housing available to as many people as possible. Currently, the property this is just a kind of a basic outline of what it is right now. It's just this wide open space here and this other area that has some utilities in there now, but the other ones are spread everywhere. It would be converted to this. The proposed is a 2-bedroom, 2 full bath apartment unit. These would be the stairs entering into the apartment unit from the front of the building. It would have 2 bedrooms, which are here, an L-shaped kitchen, which is eat-in. This is a full bath with a shower, full bath with a tub. This would house all of the mechanical and storage area. This is where the washer and dryer is, accessible from the apartment. And then this is also accessible from the back of the building where the parking spaces are for other units. For other tenants, they could access these 2 washer and dryers. This is just an extended architectural drawing speaking more about the egress windows. The egress windows here are what you see are the only additions that are going to protrude from the property, but that is still on the applicant's property in their front yard. So the variance burden of proof, it says the property is affected by an exceptional situation or condition. We feel that it is. It is an interior building. It's a conjoined building on a city block. There's no available land in the front or back of the lots. So to add an additional 864 square feet is actually impossible. The building was constructed in 1940 and also became legally non-conforming upon the adoption of the 1958 zoning regulations. So as a result, strict application would be extremely difficult. Does the strict application, would it result in any practical difficulty to the owner? Well, because there's not much land there's not any land to buy, it would be a burdensome expense related to the scope of adding a 5th unit to the property. Also, if they got into negotiation with the neighboring owners, they'd have to agree to sell a very tiny portion of their land, which would likely be a lengthy negotiations and end with irregular property lines that would encroach into the neighbors' yards. It's also a potential security issue as from the alleyway, it's just an attractive nuisance and people can kind of see that it's an unmanned area on the lower level of the building. So for that reason, it does create some practical difficulty to the owners. And lastly, there's no substantial detriment to the public or impairment to the zone plan. So the light to the neighbors and air or their privacy or enjoyment is not compromised in any way. There's no alterations that are going to be made to the character or scale of the building or the adjoining homes. The purpose and intent will remain the same for the property. And the property also has 4 dedicated parking spaces in the rear of the building, which exceed the DCMR guidelines for a 5-unit building. And lastly, the front and adjoining sides and rear of the existing apartment house will remain unchanged, which keeps us in compliance with zoning regulations and maps. This is just a picture of the front of the building, and down here is where the egress windows will go. And this is the exterior of the building. You can see the 4 parking spaces, and this is the entry that will take you down into that washer dryer area. And then ensuring public policy, which says the expanded residential use of property will reinforce the importance of neighborhood character, preservation of housing stock, and the overall housing mix and health of the community, which is exactly what we're attempting to do. We have 18 letters in support of our project. Those numbers are actually wrong. There's 6 from the tenants and 12 from varying owners and neighbors, including adjoining neighbors. And then last 2 slides, I just kind of referenced 2 similar BZA cases. One was 19625, where the applicant wanted to add 2 units to an existing 21 unit apartment building. At that point, OP did recommend approval of that expansion. And they mentioned that their reasoning was the existing ground floor units would be impractical for them to expand into those units, and it would be disruptive to those tenants as well, and would result in odd-shaped, inefficient units. Ours is pretty much the same. Of course, our basement is vacant, and there was discussion about making the 2 first-level units 2 floors. But by the time you added stairwells and walls and bathrooms and a living space, it really only resulted in about a very small 275 additional square foot of space for that second level. In addition to that, it would have increased the rental amount for those affected tenants, which didn't want to have an additional downstairs in the first place. And then the last slide here, another supporting case, 19196, very similar to ours. They wanted to add 1 unit, similar to ours, into a 5-unit building. They were using it for storage. They still continued or were going to use part of it for storage, but also add that additional unit. OP also recommended support of this and said there was no other reasonable use for the space, and retaining it as vacant space presents a practical difficulty to the owners. Ours is exactly similar for exactly the same reasons. Ours even more so because we're not even going to be planning to use any of it for storage. So the entire additional 825 square feet of space would be used to provide additional housing to the community. I will add, I'm at the end here, so I certainly welcome questions, and we welcome the support of ANC, SMD, and ZDC. But we have also received at this point our support letter from OP.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that. And just a note to everyone, Commissioner Cobb, I believe this is in your area, but you are required to, for ethics reasons, abstain from votes on zoning and development items. And so in ANC rules, that means not only does the commissioner abstain from the vote itself, but also the discussion. And so I just wanted to note that if anyone's wondering why your commissioner doesn't have a comment on this project in your community. Do we have any other questions or comments from the rest of the commission? Commissioner Hoffman?
Yeah, I just wanted to include in the discussion that Ms. Brown presented at the last zoning committee meeting, and it was just as informative and thoughtful and clear and concise as you just saw now, but we went into a little bit more detail, and there was quite a bit of appreciation for how clear the presentation was, because zoning can sometimes be very unsexy and unengaging. And Ms. Brown, are you a land use attorney or the property owner, or?
I am not. I'm the sister of the property owner and just identified as their authorized representative.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job. I honestly was going to put you in touch with some people that are having trouble with some zoning cases in my SMD, because you really knocked it out of the park. Very good job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, fantastic. Because there are people who do this for a living, and it's a struggle to watch.
And I have no doubt that everyone that saw that presentation is very clear on what is being voted on, and I think it speaks for itself.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
I had a question for Ms. Brown. Um, being that you mentioned affordable housing in your presentation, I know from experience right now that Trinidad is lacking affordable housing, which it used to have plenty of. But as
Mhm.
we're redeveloping these condos and buildings, the rent is going drastically up. Would you know how much you're renting out this unit for?
Not the one in the basement, but I can tell you about the 4 units that are currently being rented. They are all 1-unit apartments, and the average rent is $964 per month, with the lowest one being $891.
Got it.
I'm assuming that the second, this 2-bedroom one will be similar, not double, but I'm looking at that as the very lower scale of what is available in that neighborhood.
Right, right. And you mentioned a
So
figure I don't even hear about Trinidad no more. So thank you for letting some of our constituents know on this call that that's still available.
My
Perfect. I appreciate you sharing that.
certainly.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, so on behalf of the 5D07 community, I will move to support this BZA case number 20275. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, all right, as expected. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I will add one other thing, or ask one other thing, because our hearing is tomorrow. I didn't know if there's anything that has to be written from ANC to go into ISIS.
Yes, and so we have a report, it looks like linked here in the agenda. No, that's just the case search. So what I'll do is I'll work to make sure that you get a case report and we'll put that in ISIS overnight.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, we'll make sure that happens. Thank you for that reminder.
Certainly, thank you.
Okay, all right. And then now we have reached the point in the meeting where we can open the floor for community feedback and questions. We do try to give more people who we haven't already heard from an opportunity to speak. And we ask that you limit your remarks to about 1 minute each, and the total time is about 5 to 10 minutes. So if you have a question, if you'll please include that in the Q&A box or use the raise hand feature in order to raise your hand, and we'll call on you to share your question or comment. And it doesn't have to be limited to any of the topics we've discussed in this portion of the meeting. Okay, and just kind of the first comment, which I do believe is in regards to the speed bump from Chandler Gould. I would fully support Oren. So I think that's in regard to the speed bumps. Okay, and I don't see any hands raised. Okay, we've got another question in the Q&A. Cheryl Augustine, sorry, another issue. Any update on what is going on with USPS? Oh, thank you for this. We haven't received mail since March 22nd.
So Ms. Augustine, I can chime in for that.
Go for it.
Ms. Augustine, I don't know if you viewed my comment on Nextdoor this afternoon, but I did go to the post office. I was there a little over an hour with about 20 something other constituents having the same issue. The issue is across our entire zone 2, but for those that are on the line, I have reached out to all news sources in the District of Columbia. I've reached out to the Washington Post and the Washington Times. And actually, while I was on this call, I just got feedback from 3 different news stations saying that they are interested in our story and they want me to answer some questions. So it is being worked. We haven't forgotten about you. And although you aren't seeing it being worked, it is being worked because you're not the only one that's affected.
Amen. And then the other thing I was going to add is that also I've reached out to our Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton, because this is the USPS is a federal government agency and she does have oversight over them. And so there is a form that we've been sending around on Nextdoor and to neighbors as they reach out to us. And then I'll also make sure that we include a link to that form in the chat box for this meeting. So if you need to complete that form and email it back to her office, she's already gotten quite a few. So I think that's another route as well. Any other comments from the commission on the post office issues? Okay. And I don't see any other Q&A or raised hands. So speak now or hold your peace for at least a month. Okay, we've got another question. Desiree Williams, is there an update on the request for residential only parking on 18th and the surrounding streets? So no, I do not have an update on that request for residential parking as yet. Some of the issue we're having right now is that because of COVID and everyone being at home, people are staying parked in their normal parking spots. And so when DDOT comes out to do their inspection to verify that, yes, indeed, there is a parking issue, they're not finding the same parking issue that we would find, when people are normally out going to work. So it's taking longer than it normally does to get that kind of thing approved. And there's a bit of back and forth, basically saying, look, I understand what your rules are, but you understand there's a pandemic right now and everyone is, everyone who can is working from home. So we're having a back and forth right now on those policy issues and working to try and get those approved. But just as a note for folks, just as a reminder, you can only get parking on changes on your own block. You can't request parking changes on someone else's block, just for the simple fact that there's a fee associated with that. So we've got another question here, Matal Lyons Warren. Just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. This is not easy work, and I appreciate the initiative and advocacy for the neighborhood. And we all say thank you. Next question, Casey Wong. I missed the answer to the DC water drain issue. A drain on my street has been uncovered outside a construction site. The overgrowth of the grass has obstructed this open drain from view. What can resolve this? And Casey, before we get an answer to your question, if you'll tell us which block you're on, because your question doesn't say where you're located. You don't have to give us a specific your specific address, but if you could just tell us the block. While you're typing that in the Q&A box, I'm gonna move on to the next question. Catherine Willis, does the ANC ever organize community litter pickup events? And the answer is yes, we absolutely do. There are some neighbors who organize them independently, but in terms of an ANC organized cleanup, we have one coming up in Carver Langston on the 24th for our Earth Day cleanup. So that Saturday, neighbors are welcome to come out. We've got volunteers from all over the city who will be coming to help us clean up in the neighborhood. And so, that starts at 10 a.m. And that'll be in our newsletter as well. We would love to have more people from this neighborhood participating in those. So definitely we do that, and please come out. If you're not already on our mailing list, you can go to anc5d.org. And in that right-hand column, you'll see a button so that you can join the mailing list, and we'll send out updates on opportunities like that.
Seidel.
Go ahead.
Trinidad is also having an Earth Day cleanup thanks to Danielle Bays. We're meeting April 24th at 9 a.m. at the Joe Cole Playground, and we hope to see you there.
Okay. Sounds good. And I know there was also one that already took place last month on the 20th as well. So Casey Wong, I still don't see a Q&A response from you. So I'm gonna move on.
Fidel, she actually answered in the chat saying she was on 19th and 8th Street Northeast.
Okay. So I'll follow up with you and make sure I can see where that issue is with the storm drain, because that's in my area. So I'll send you a separate chat directly to you and see what we can do to link up. Claire Andrews. Lots of us from Staples Street are here. Great news about our speed bump. We are looking forward to a continued partnership with our ANC. All right, thank you for that comment, Claire. Patrick Molatoris. I know this has been discussed previously, But what's the best way to get engaged in the reopening of the M Street entrance of the Arboretum? So I think for the most part right now, we are going through the necessary steps to get that passed. And the Arboretum is on board. Our Congresswoman is on board. I met with her staff yesterday, actually, to discuss the reopening. She's in support. The primary issue we're now facing is just a budgetary concern, which the Congresswoman is going to help work with us to craft a strategy on. So if any part of that strategy is about making sure that the community is vocal about their support, we need to do any kind of a community outcry to make that clear. I'll let you know. But for right now, I think we're just working on the next steps in terms of getting funding approved for that entrance. And then some of the details between what the government needs to do in terms of road work and what the federal government needs to do. But it's a money issue at this point. Okay, I'm just gonna go to one. Okay, and then we have an additional comment here. Chandler Gould also says, I'm on the board of directors of FONA, which is Friends of the National Arboretum. We want to engage the community on this issue and need money as stated. So there you have it.
We've been trying to get that done for the last 3 years. Tell them, sit there. We ain't forgot about it.
We have not forgotten about it.
Forgot about it.
Especially, it would be nice, now during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So last question before we wrap up the community comments. Anil Fool. We are owners of 1824 Fenwick Street in Ivy City and shared our interest at the last ANC 5 and SMD 5D meetings with a request to change the FLUM to allow mixed use residential, preserving PDR for a 100% affordable housing development. Because the DC Council is slated to vote on the FLUM in about 2 weeks, we would like to request if ANC 5 commissioners can discuss our plan with us, including Commissioner Rhodes. Our project is 100% affordable with 30 to 60% AMI affordable units, including 10 3-bedroom units, 30% AMI. We really appreciate the engagement with the SMD, ANC, and community so far. Can we request the ANC 5D guidance support as we are so pressed for time and considering the benefits of bringing needed affordable housing to ANC 5 and Ivy City? So we did hear that at last month's meeting, and just before, Commissioner Rhodes has an opportunity to make some comments. I think one of the things we've also shared is that, the FLUM change is not the only opportunity to make a change to the map. There's also a map amendment opportunity here. And, we are going to go through the process as normally scheduled on our review of these types of land use issues to make sure that we do have, all the information we need to have to make a proper decision. And we have no intentions of rushing a decision, to meet, a somewhat arbitrary deadline for the FLUM. So Commissioner Rhodes, do you have anything to add?
I agree with you, Commissioner Moore, and also we are meeting with the developers of that location this week. So we can speak further into that this week.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, thank you so much. That's all of the public Q&A we have for tonight. Let's go down the line and do single member district updates from the commissioners. We'll start with 5D01.
Yes, well, I want to thank the commission of 5B, I'm sorry, 5B. They have passed the resolution for the Cromell site, and we have been seeking the other commissions as well, which they are going to be doing. When I hear from them, they'll be doing the same, I'm sure. Also, I want to thank the commissioners for your support in the Carmel site and the renovation and preservation and the 20 million, the mayor putting the 20 million in the budget. Also, we have been 1854, which is a building that didn't have an owner. We have an owner now. The owner has been working in the building to clean it up, to clean the trash. The trash has been a problem. So that is working out, and the seniors will have hot water soon. And just the same things that's going on in the community with the dumping on Gallaudet Street that we will be taking care of. And that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. 5D02.
Nothing new on my end. I'm just pushing more of our constituents across the board for ANC 5D just to get to use of the 311 app. Pushing that a lot amongst everybody. So make sure you share that with your neighbors. Trinidad is planning on having a joint SMD meeting this month, so be on the lookout for that information. Other than that, if there's any issues or concerns, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. And I'm best available through phone. So feel free to just call me or text me at any time. Constituents have been really good at just reaching out to me that way if they need something pressing. So just again, if there's anything needed, feel free to contact me at any point in time.
Okay, so we have 5D03 next, but Commissioner Elmore, her screen has frozen. And so we're gonna skip her. Okay, are you back with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
He was just thinking.
My camera has been freezing up the entire meeting. I'm so sorry, guys. But I just told Sadell I have nothing additional to add. I think we discussed everything that were issues in my single member district throughout the meeting today.
Okay. All right, and 5D04, Commissioner Blacknell.
I have nothing to discuss. My concern was about the shooting that took place a couple of nights ago, and hopefully me and you can work together to try to get this arboretum back open again. I still have the information from a couple of years back when we tried to do it, the petition and everything. So if you need that, I still have it.
Okay, all right. And then I am the commissioner for 5D05, and I just have a few updates that you've already heard at various points throughout the meeting at this point. But on April 24th, starting at 10 a.m., we'll meet at the corner of 19th Street and Benning Road to have our Earth Day cleanup. And so we'll have volunteers from across the city, but I would, really, really appreciate having some neighbors from the community, there, especially first thing to welcome people who are coming to our community and just say thank you for them joining us to help us clean up. And then the other major item was the Arboretum meeting. So the National Capital Planning Commission did have a meeting, and they, reviewed the Arboretum's updated plans, including the reopening of the entrance at M Street. And they have been in support, but as everyone's mentioned so far, it's a funding issue. And so I've been advocating with our Congresswoman office to go ahead and make sure they get the funding they need to reopen that entrance with appropriate security and pedestrian access, as well as DDOT in terms of the paving of the road leading up to that entrance. And just a note here to also my fellow commissioners in Carver-Langston, that we are going to work together to try to hold a single member district meeting for all of the districts in Carver-Langston. So 5D03, 5D04, and 5D05 in the coming month. That's all from me. 5D06.
Hey guys, biggest update right now. Salvador mentioned it earlier, joint Trinidad SMD meetings. We're very excited to get this started again. A lot of the things that we deal with, or I deal with, or Stephen deals with, or Salvador deals with, are usually compounded through all three of our SMDs. Just the geographics of, we're nice little box of neighborhood. So if you have anything you want to talk about, please look out for that meeting. We're going to send out the information. It's going to be next Tuesday at 7:00, like we normally meet. So it's the week after this. And a lot of the things that people have been bringing to me have been DDOT specific. So I'm hoping that not this next meeting, but the meeting after this, we'll be able to have actually somebody from DDOT come and talk to us, because almost, I'd say 70% of what you all are bringing to me are DDOT related. We have Florida Avenue and Bladensburg Road and West Virginia Avenue, and they're all have their different nuances and little kinks and stuff that aren't really jiving with everybody. And we can figure out ways to get around those. So I'm hoping to have somebody from DDOT come and talk to us about that. Always stop signs, speed bumps, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll be doing it. If you have sent me an email in the last 2 weeks, I've responded, and we're working on all those things. And I'm looking forward to circling back with you when I hear more about what's going on.
All right, thank you so much. 5D07.
All right, just two things of note. First, I mentioned a while back about the Pepco substation in the alley between Trinidad Avenue, Owen Place, and Penn Street, and what they were going to do with that. I recently learned that Pepco is going to take that empty building and put backup batteries in there. So that should improve power resiliency. I know we have a blackout or two every summer, so hopefully the batteries should help with that. And second, I already mentioned it, but I'll repeat it here. Earth Day cleanup, Saturday, April 24th, 9 a.m. at the Joe Cole Playground.
Okay, thank you so much. So that's all we have for you all this evening. And in light of that, I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Rhodes, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mm.
All right, and with that, tonight's meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Everyone be safe.
Everyone have a good one.